In the past few years, I went from broke to recently bringing in my very first $80,000 per month. Here's what I did to beat 99% of my competition and how you can do it too. I believe the future belongs to the skill stackers. If you do it right, you will beat 99% of your competition within 6 to 12 months. Ever since I was a kid, I was never really the best at anything. I was never really the smartest, never the most hardworking, or the most creative person in the room. I was always somewhere in the middle, or maybe slightly above average, but no matter what it was, right? From sports to grades, to social skills, to presentation skills, whatever you name it, I was somewhere in the middle. And growing up, I was told that I needed to win, I needed to specialize, I needed to pick a niche, as they call it. I needed to maximize my abilities in a particular domain of expertise. From a young age, even when I was still a kid, I learned everything from piano to badminton to swimming, but whenever exam period comes, I dropped everything and locked myself in a room to study. Nothing else mattered because academics came first in my upbringing. And it never really made me happy. It would be grueling and suffering. And after the exam, I start this whole cycle all over again. And in my adult life, the same thing happened. After university, I couldn't settle down for a career path. And that's because I have this crazy thirst for learning because I didn't know what I wanted. And at first, I thought this thirst for learning was just shiny object syndrome, which is basically a constant need to chase whatever caught my eye. And in the past few years, I went from broke to bringing in my first $80,000 per month. And I attribute my success to being able to stack my interests and skills on top of each other. My path has led to something I couldn't fathom as a kid, and now I'm here to share that path with you. So if you were in the position that I was 3, 5, 10 years ago, this will help you consider a different perspective from someone who has done it. Here are some of the things that I've been interested in over the years, right? I started from affiliate marketing to SEO to UI UX design to web development to project management to data analytics to starting my own apparel brand, to fitness, to nutrition, to things like biohacking or building profitable digital marketing funnels, B2B sales automation, self-development, cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies, investments and trading. Really, there are more, right? But I'm not gonna go through an entire list, but you get the point. I'm sure a lot of you watching this could probably relate, but in your life, you decided to double down on your niche because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And to note, I probably didn't exclusively learn about one thing, except my longest stint with learning to code. That was the beginning of all beginnings, right? So if I was obsessed with learning to code and if an interesting content on fitness or nutrition pops up on my feed, I'm still gonna listen to it, right? And I wanna clarify that this is very different from shiny object syndrome, where I jump from one item to another without developing any form of expertise or competencies or even understanding, right? I spent at least 3 months on each of them to bring myself to a good level of competency. And most people say doing what you love for a living is impossible. But the result of me stacking these skills on top of one another literally is the only reason why I'm able to be doing what I love for a living. And I never would have been able to bring my progress in business, fitness, or just life in general to my current level without stacking skills on top of each other. So I wouldn't have been able to build my current business if I just focused on my university degree and went down the path of, I did a degree in accounting and finance and went down the path of being an auditor or a chartered accountant, or I went full on to be a full-time software developer or a coder, right? So this video is for you if you're exploring a path to be a generalist, because specialists will argue that, I could have been a world-class auditor too, right? But yeah, maybe, right? But I know I wouldn't be happy. And I'm not saying that being a specialist is bad. Everyone has a path in life and that's completely fine. We're humans. And this variation is what makes life beautiful. I just really want to highlight that it's okay to have multiple interests. And in my opinion, skill stacking is superior to being a specialist. But being a specialist is still definitely better than doing nothing at all or hopping from one topic to another without any level of proficiency. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. This is a famous quote from Abraham Maslow. Having a broad range of skills allows me to build a creative solution to almost any burning problem on the market. A deep generalist will get better results than a specialist simply because they have more awareness on the people, the tools, and the skills needed to solve a problem at hand. A deep generalist can also see a deeper chain reaction where they're able to see beyond second order effects. They can see how A will impact B, which will impact C, and so on and so forth, right? Think of a line of dominoes, the domino effect, right? A single push causes a chain of events to occur, and once the chain starts, it's difficult, if not impossible, to stop or reverse this cascade of cause and effect. Specialists, though, tend to understand how A impacts B very well, but when it gets to C and D and so forth, things don't stay very clear. And it's tough to solve this because specialists generally don't have the breadth of tools and know-hows play it out in their head. right? Again, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. This is a famous quote from Abraham Maslow. So now that I have built that context to skill stacking, now what, right? What comes next? Should you go on and learn whatever you feel like learning just for the sake of it? Sure, but that's the long route. But where should you start? In my journey, I've seen a ton of gurus or creators preach things like learn X and you can make money fast, right? And the top 5 make money fast kind of niche that I've seen will be things like if you build a beautiful product and no one knows about it, you don't have a business. Go and learn Facebook ads, for example. Get in front of your customers. For every $1 you put in, you get $5 back. It's literally a money-making machine if you do it right? Or things like the future is software, right? AI is taking over the world. Job cuts are coming. You may be replaced. Learn to code, right? Build your own tech startup and let it run on its own. Literally, all you gotta do is build it once and get paid forever passively, right? Or things like content is king. Learn video editing. The content is foundation of all marketing. Without great content, your Facebook ad campaign will flop no matter how good you are. Or things like the easiest way to make money is to start your own social media marketing agency, work remotely. Everyone needs a social media presence, so let them outsource it to you for $1,000 per month, land 10 clients and you make like $10,000, right? These are all pretty common things that you've probably seen somewhere online, and all the things I said above, right? There's nothing wrong with them inherently, they all work, right? If you learn them all at once, you will probably be more confused than anything, and you may even just lose motivation altogether and get back to what you were doing before this. But how do you get to choosing where to start, right? The way I see it, there are only 3 things to really consider when deciding which skills to stack. And here's my thought process on how I make my decision for it. Number 1, do I enjoy it and do I have the right traits for it? Let's look at the first part to this, right? Do I enjoy it? For example, there's big money to be made and a clear personal branding to do content in, let's say for example, right, pottery and arts and craft content, right? Arts and craft. But I don't enjoy it, and if I don't enjoy it, I can't go far, especially when it gets tough. The last time I did something I did not enjoy, it was video editing, right? I really sucked at it, and when I first started my business, I had to do everything on my own, from planning to writing the scripts to recording to video editing and posting. I did every single thing end to end on my own. Back in 2020, I was going through a long, painful and lonely journey, self-learning how to code for around 8 months. I was completely broke and depressed. My ex-girlfriend back then left me as well. So due to how obsessed I was with it, I didn't really care so much about her or the things around me. So I was coding literally 12 hours a day from 9 a.m. to literally, went to bed around 12 a.m. Nothing else mattered. I'll go into this in detail in a different video, but fast forward 8 months, I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. It was when my skills were proven. It gave me so much confidence, so much energy, and so much more to look forward to. It was when one of my friends, who's a computer science or IT fresh graduate, and he asked me to help him with his coding interview when he found out that I was self-learning how to code for the past few months. This guy, he literally couldn't code at all, right? So I helped him with it. I happily did it for free, and it was 3 problem-solving algorithm questions, and I actually managed to pass 2 out of 3 of the coding test. And I helped him pass his coding interview. So he was super impressed and all, and that was when I started getting people to pay me money to teach them part-time for a few months to help them get a job after their computer science degree, right? And like within 6 months after that, I managed to close 3 projects worth $2,000 to $10,000 to $50,000. I'll go into this in another video as well in terms of how I skill stacked myself into closing these projects. I definitely couldn't have done this with just coding skills alone, right? It was seriously life-changing for me. That's when I knew I was on the right track, on the right path. Finally, I saw a light after 8 months of just in hell, right? So moving forward, I started hiring developers to serve the projects while also teaching students how to build at the same time. A few more months went by and I had 3 realizations. The first one, I saw that pretty much all of my students that I mentored got a software development job shortly after that, right? Next, I realized how difficult it was to hire coders, competent coders when I was hiring for my projects, right? And finally, the coder that I hired as a fresh graduate, I paid him 4,000 ringgit, which is around $1,000. And after we worked together on the project, he learned so much about building full stack web applications and the modern tech stack that we used. And he actually got a remote job in the US for around $4,000, right? So long story short, I was back to square one again in terms of cash flow, no more students and no more projects. So with what I knew, I needed to create a pipeline of talents that I could hire, and I knew if I had the interest to learn to code as a complete beginner, and I knew how difficult it was, and I knew how big the talent gap was for tech talents. So I decided to start a coding school or a coding tuition center back then, right? So I did everything I could. I just couldn't get eyeballs or AA traffic to my website, not enough people knew about my existence and not enough paying customers, right? I made like one sale worth like 300 ringgit, like that's less than $100 after 1 month of grinding nonstop. So eventually I was promoting my coding school and I had no choice because I had to create content to promote through Facebook ads, right? I learned how to use Premiere Pro, the video editing software on my own, and holy crap, I hated it. While it's true that video editing is the core of what makes great content, top creators like Alex Ramosi, Mr. Beast, Iman Gatsi, and so on have teams of really talented video editors who learn to make their videos so freaking engaging, right? So without great content, I wouldn't be able to get good engagement from my target audience. The cost of my ads will literally skyrocket and I will be getting less returns for every dollar I put into my ads, right? Literally losing money. So even though video editing was this important and clearly a profitable and highly feasible remote job, as well as a skill that clearly could have stacked pretty well with my existing skills in tech and marketing, I honestly couldn't bring myself to do it and thus I couldn't have gone very far of it even if I tried. On the other hand though, I genuinely enjoyed topics on tech, entrepreneurship, self-development, growth mindset, and things like that. So these are the things that I'm literally doing right now. I'm spending my time consuming content every single day on the way to work, and I'm creating content here for free because this is what I genuinely enjoy. This is what I do for free. So if I wanted to add this to my skill stack, it would be a no-brainer. Think about Elon Musk, right? He doesn't have to be doing what he's doing today, but he keeps grinding every single day, and even when he doesn't need to, right? You're probably rich enough to live happily without looking at price tags when buying stuff, when you hit 10 million, $100 million, or maybe $1 billion and so on, right? So they say you're hungriest when you're on the way up. And more people fail going from $1 million to $10 million than they do from $0 to $1 million. Why does this happen, right? Because from $0 to $1 million, you're in the dirt. It's do or die. You don't have the second option. You need to make it work no matter what, by hook or by crook. Your family gets sick and you can't send them to the hospital, right? Your kids will not have good education and upbringing if you don't provide for them. Your wife will leave you if you fail, right? But when you hit $1 million and above, suddenly you have an option. Suddenly you could chill a little bit more, you could take things slow, live an okay life. Nothing wrong with that, right? The point I'm trying to make here is that people like Elon Musk, he could have taken it slow, but he's still sleeping in his factory when his net worth was like $100 million and above, or even $1 billion, right? That's because he has a purpose. He enjoys it. He wants to see through it, right? This is what gives him fulfillment. I don't know if it's happy or not, but the point is he's doing it because he gets fulfillment out of it. He's not doing it for the money. So find out for yourself, what's something you will enjoy doing, not just for the money. And if you want to be world-class or successful at it, do something you're interested in. Albert Einstein worked at the Swiss Patent Office after struggling to find a teaching job post-graduation. His lack of interest in this mundane job led him to pursue physics more passionately and eventually developing the theory of relativity. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, the world's largest shoe brand, started his career as an accountant but had a passion for running, right? So he co-founded Blue Ribbon Sports, which later became Nike, and his vision turned Nike into one of the most successful global sportswear brands. These are people who literally set the course and changed the course of history. The world would have literally been different without them, and they wouldn't have been able to do it if they continued in the job that they did not enjoy. Number two, I'll ask myself, do I have the right traits for it? Here's a famous quote. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid, right? If I'm 5'9" or 175 cm and I want to be a world-class basketball player, it's probably not going to work out super well for me as a generalist. This means that I just simply don't have the traits for it, right? If I'm naturally bad with dancing, then it's probably not a good idea for me to start a career as a dancing coach, right? The worst experience I had was when I was back in high school. I remember this was like more than 10 years ago. I remember I joined the dance club, right? We were preparing for a performance, like an annual performance. I sucked so badly at it. I was the only guy who the choreographer had to pull me back after class just so I don't ruin the team's performance, right? Looking back at it, I did not regret it, but every dance session was really a grind. I was so bad at it, right? As I was building Sigma School over time, after meeting so many more developers, right, as well as training so many talented ones to date, I knew even I didn't have the traits to go as far as they could to be the top 1% of software engineers out there. It's just painfully obvious and a very painful realization for myself, but that's why I decided to skill stack. I decided to combine my 6 out of 10 coding skills and my 6 out of 10 marketing skills and sales skills to start a tech business. And that's how I crafted a niche for myself and excelled at it, right? I created a game for myself, a whole new league for myself. Walt Disney, the founder of Disney, initially struggled as a cartoonist and he eventually got to bankruptcy, right? His talents alone wasn't enough for success in that field, but his visionary ideas and storytelling ability led him to create an entertainment empire with animated films, theme parks, and a global brand that has endured for decades. Vera Wang, She is an American fashion designer who worked for Vogue and Ralph Lauren before launching her own bridal gown boutique in 1990s. She gained international recognition for her wedding dress designs. She's world-class at that, and she's absolutely made a killing with it. However, when she was younger, she trained as a figure skater with Olympic aspirations, but didn't have the athletic abilities to reach the top levels of competition. So she pivoted and she transitioned into fashion and became one of the most famous bridal wear designers in the world, known for her elegant and sophisticated designs. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, he initially pursued a PhD in physics but dropped out after realizing that the slow pace of academic research didn't suit his restless and ambitious nature. He shifted to entrepreneurship, co-founded companies like Zip2, PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink, which made him one of the most influential figures in the world, right? And finally, I'm going to share a little bit about J.K. Rowling. She worked as a secretary, a job where she struggled due to her daydreaming and lack of attention to detail, right? So recognizing that this career wasn't suited to her, she pursued her passion for writing and eventually created Harry Potter series, which became one of the best-selling series in history. Now we're done with that, let's move on to the third point, and that would be how fast can I make money from this? Because anything that does not make you money is a hobby. And with money and cash flow, you can buy yourself time to explore more of your interest and fun. You have more time to skill stack other skills, right? If you want to learn a new skill and it takes 10 years for you to monetize it, that wouldn't make sense, right? Because you probably would have died of hunger in the first year itself, right? So the real thought process here is, what can you do that aligns with the two things that I mentioned just now? Do you enjoy it and do you have the traits for it? Let's say you're passionate about music and you're decent at playing the guitar. Sure, you could go all in and try to become the next big rock star. But we all know how competitive that industry is. What if instead you started teaching guitar online, right? You enjoy music, you have the skills, and teaching allows you to monetize that passion almost immediately, right? When it comes to making money quickly, the importance of choosing the right skill is paramount. Alex Hormozi himself didn't start diving into just any skill. He focused on sales and marketing, areas where he could see immediate returns. And for example, in his early career, he invested in learning how to sell gym memberships more effectively. He knew that if he could master sales, he could quickly increase revenue. This isn't just theory. It's something Hormozi experienced firsthand. He scaled multiple businesses by focusing on skills that had a clear, direct path to revenue generation. If you focus on a skill that can generate revenue quickly, you're not just learning for the sake of learning. You're building a pathway to financial freedom, stability, and growth, right? Imagine learning a high demand skill with, like digital marketing and sales. These are areas where companies are consistently willing to invest money because they drive business growth, right? If you become proficient in these areas, you can make money almost immediately. Whether it's through freelancing, consulting, working remotely, or applying those skills in your own business, the promise here is straightforward. By choosing the right skill, you're positioning yourself to start making money faster than you would with a less practical or in-demand skill. So now that you've decided to focus on a skill that can generate returns quickly, what's next? Here's the plan. First, choose your skill. Look for something that has clear, direct path to monetization. Sales, digital marketing, and copywriting are all strong contenders because they directly influence revenue. Next, acquire a skill. Dive deep into learning this skill as quickly as possible. Focus on practical, hands-on experience rather than just theory. For instance, if you're learning sales, start selling something, anything to get real-world experience. Then immediately apply the skill. Apply what you've learned right away. If it's sales, start selling a product or service. If it's digital marketing, begin running small campaigns. The key here is to get feedback and refine your skills quickly. And finally, monetize, the most important part, right? Start charging for your services as soon as you're confident. Don't wait to become an expert, right? Get out there and start pitching your services and start charging for it, start earning money for it, right? This could be from freelancing or consulting or even launching your own small business based on your skills. Take Alex Hormozi's approach to gym sales. He knew that gyms needed to increase their membership price. So he learned the ins and outs of sales psychology and direct response marketing. And with this knowledge, he started helping gyms scale their revenue by implementing proven sales techniques. The results were immediate. Gyms started making more money, and Hormozi in turn built a successful business around this skill. This method isn't limited to just gyms. If you're good at digital marketing, for example, start helping small businesses increase their online presence and charge for your services. If you're in software, start developing apps that solve real problems and try and sell them. So we've covered our first 3 questions. Will I enjoy it? Do I have the traits for it? And how quickly can I monetize it? Now, finally, this leads me to the final thought I'll ask myself. Does this skill complement with my existing skill stack? Does 1 plus 1 equals to 3? When stacking skills, the goal isn't just to add new abilities, right? It's to create a combination that amplifies your effectiveness. Think about Steve Jobs. He wasn't just a tech guy, right? He combined his skills in technology with a deep understanding of design and marketing. The fusion of these skills really created something extraordinary. It literally changed the world, right? The iPhone isn't just a product of engineering, it's a masterpiece of user experience and branding. Steve Jobs knew that by stacking skills like design, marketing, and technology, he could create a product that would revolutionize entire industry. This isn't just theory. It's something you see across various fields, right? Take Elon Musk, for example. Musk didn't just stop at learning how to build rockets. He combined his knowledge of physics, engineering, and business to create SpaceX, a company that didn't just build rockets, but made space travel more affordable and fundamentally changing the industry from the bottom up from true first principles thinking. The combination of these skills created a synergy where the whole was far greater than the sum of its parts. When I was building my companies, it wasn't just coding skills that helped me close my $50,000 projects, right? Or it wasn't coding skills that helped me close 200 plus students to date. It was a combination of skills from coding to project management, to sales, to digital marketing, to content creation, to storytelling, to pitching. It really is a beautiful mix of skill sets. This is why there's so much beauty in being a deep generalist. Well, not just a generalist who's mediocre in everything, right? I started off with an extremely difficult skill. I persevered through it and managed to get it, pay the bills, right? That skill was coding. And then only after that, I decided to acquire new skills along the way and in my own time to now finally building a company making 8,000 USD per month in revenue. By focusing on skills that complement your existing expertise, you're not just becoming good at a few things, you're becoming uniquely valuable. Imagine you're already proficient in coding, and now if you add a deep understanding of digital marketing, you're not just a developer anymore. You're someone who's able to build, market, and sell software products. This makes you so much more valuable in the marketplace because you're offering a complete package that few others can. Honestly, the promise here is straightforward, right? By stacking complementary skills, you're setting yourself up to dominate your niche. And you won't just be another player in the field. You will be a game changer who can bring more to the table than anyone else. Here's how you can strategically stack skills to ensure that 1 plus 1 is 3. So I'm going to talk about how now. The first thing, identify your core skill. Start by identifying what you're already good at. This is the foundation upon which you build your skill stack. For instance, if you're a strong communicator, that's your core. Number 2, choose complementary skills. Identify skills that naturally enhance your core ability. If you're a communicator, perhaps learning digital marketing or public speaking would complement your existing strengths. Number 3, you gotta master it and integrate it. Don't just learn a new skill, you gotta integrate it with existing ones. This is where the magic happens, right? If you're good at both communication and digital marketing, start applying both in tandem, right? Write compelling copy for marketing campaigns or start a podcast where you leverage your communication skills to build an audience. And next would be to create synergy. The ultimate goal here is to create synergy where the combined effects of your skills is far greater than what each could achieve alone, right? This is how you turn your skill stack into a powerhouse that can then create massive value and drive success. 1 plus 1 equals to 3. Now let's talk about a few examples. Let's consider Warren Buffett, right? One of the world's most famous investors and richest investor in the world. His core skill is investing. But what makes him extraordinary is his ability to read and understand businesses deeply. He didn't just stop at learning how to invest, right? He combined that with the ability to assess management, understand how the market works, market dynamics, and reading financial statements. The result, Buffett's investment strategies are far more successful because they're built on a comprehensive understanding of how businesses operate. Another example is Oprah Winfrey. She started as a talk show host, but she didn't just stop there. She combined her communication skills with business acumen, creating a media empire. The combination of these skills allowed her to not only connect with millions of people, but also build a long-lasting brand that extends her beyond her original platform. So by stacking skills that complement each other, you're not just adding your toolkit. What you're doing here is you're creating a unique value proposition that sets you apart from everyone else. Now that we've done so much about setting the importance of skill stacking and how you can do it, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can now do it and learn faster than everyone else. So as a generalist looking to skill stack, if we play by the rules of a specialist, we will never get enough and we will not be able to win. We need to break free from traditional learning paths. If we play by the standard paths of going to university for 3 years to learn a new skill, for example, 3 years for coding, 3 years for digital marketing, 3 years for design, I'll probably take more than 10 years just to get to a competency level of a fresh graduate in each skill. Generalists need to do it differently. They need to learn how to learn. And here's how I would do it. Learning doesn't happen in the classroom. What do I mean by that, right? You can watch 100 hours of videos on how to swim, or 100 videos on how to code, or how to ride a bike, or how to run a profitable Facebook ad campaign, but the only way to get good at it is to actually do it, right? As humans, We're always incentivized to optimize for the short run. That makes sense because we want instant gratification. It's literally genetically coded into us. That's why it makes sense, right? That's because when we were in our hunter-gatherer days, back in the days when we were living in the wild, right? Many centuries ago, survival always came first. So those of us who optimize for instant gratification, aka staying away from the scary, ferocious tiger that's getting close to us, or staying away from that dangerous, venomous-looking snake near us, those of our ancestors who valued instant gratification would have passed on those genes that allowed us to survive to the day we are, right? Those genes are passed on to us. So humans today are gifted with these genes for better or worse, but we don't need it anymore. We're no longer living in the wild. In fact, we should optimize for delayed gratification for long-term success. This is a whole new topic on its own, but most recently, I've been forced to confront this realization yet again, just last week, when I was just planning to start creating content and starting my YouTube channel. I spent hours and hours just researching how to do content, how to set up my camera, how to plan my script, how to video edit, and so on and so forth. And I went down this whole YouTube rabbit hole of tutorial hell, which reminded me myself of 5 years ago, of my days of learning how to code 5 years ago, right? I was planning and thinking about everything from the title to the thumbnail to the channel name to how to brand myself and everything in between, but I reminded myself to just do it and progress from there. And it's true, I learned so much more by just actually doing one video than I did from watching 100 tutorials on YouTube. Traditional learning methods like spending years in a classroom are inefficient for a generalist. Learning truly happens when you produce output, right? Getting your hands dirty and actually doing it and actively engaging with real-world challenges. So when you're stuck, you pivot and you learn from there. That's how you learn very fast. Right? If you take Richard Branson, for example, he didn't go to a business school. Instead, he learned by doing. He launched Virgin Records as a teenager and grew it and sold it for $1 billion. He was solving problems as they arose and he just iterated over time, right? Along with his experiences. This hands-on approach allowed him to build an empire across various industries without following the traditional path. In my experience, the most rapid learning comes from diving into projects, seeking specific knowledge, and immediately applying what you learn. So what I wanted to learn in digital marketing, I didn't enroll in a long course. Instead, I chose a project, right? I emulated what successful marketers were doing and built my own campaigns. I learned faster because I wasn't just consuming information, I was creating something with it. By following this approach, you will accelerate your learning curve to reach competency so much faster than those who stick to traditional methods, right? That's why they say replicate before you emulate, right? Just try and learn from how people are doing it and just do it. Instead of spending years to master a skill, you will be able to pick up what's essential in months or even weeks. This method doesn't just help you learn faster, it also makes you more adaptable and better prepared for real-world challenges. Imagine this. Instead of spending 3 years learning programming in the classroom, you take a project, emulate a successful app, just literally like cloning it, and start building your own version. And in 6 months, you have not only learned the code, but also built something tangible that you can showcase to employers or future partners or clients. The results, you will be far ahead rather than being stuck in theory. So here's a step-by-step strategy on how you can learn faster as a generalist. Number 1, choose a project to emulate. Identify a successful project that embodies the skills you want to learn. This gives you a clear target and helps you understand what good looks like. For example, if you want to learn web development, find a website you admire and aim to clone it or recreate its core features. That's literally what I did, right? Start building your own version. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start building it immediately, right? The process of building is where real learning happens. You will face challenges, make mistakes, and learn from them, right? All of which accelerates your understanding. So think about it. Instead of just copying a clone of Twitter, build that clone and integrate GPT and payment systems and stuff inside of it where you customize it to your own needs. And this is how you stand out from the rest because everyone can clone, right? Number 3, right? You got to seek specific knowledge because as you build, seek out the specific knowledge you need to overcome obstacles. Instead of trying to learn everything up front, learn what's necessary to solve the problem at hand. This targeted learning is so much more efficient. And number 4, this is a bonus, teach it, right? Because teaching what you've learned solidifies your understanding and uncovers any gap in your knowledge. There's always gaps in your knowledge, right? Share your progress, write tutorials, write blogs, explain your process to others, talk to students. Teaching forces you to clarify your thoughts and deepen your mastery. In this case, we can consider, for example, Tony Robbins, right? He didn't follow a traditional educational path. Instead, he learned by doing, by studying human behavior and psychology through real-world experiences, then teaching others what he had learned. By constantly emulating successful strategies and applying them in his own work, he became one of the most influential life coaches in the world. Now, his learning was rapid and effective only because it was rooted in practical application and not theory, right? Another example, Tim Ferriss, the author of The 4-Hour Work Week, who is a big role model for me. Ferriss is a master generalist who learns new skills super duper fast. He focuses on meta learning, he calls it, the process of deconstructing and emulating the most effective methods used by experts. He then applies and teaches these skills, reinforcing his knowledge and accelerating his learning curve. By following this approach, you can compress years of learning into months and achieve a level of proficiency that rivals those who take the traditional path. Now, with this in mind, how can you actually be irreplaceable? Being a generalist who can combine multiple skills makes you far more valuable than someone who only excels in one area. Here's how this plays out in real-world scenarios. A coder is a valuable asset, but coders are often seen as interchangeable commodities. I mean, sometimes, right? Especially in larger tech companies or when companies do outsource coding work, they don't really care who you are, just get it done kind of thing, right? The more coders in the market, the easier it is to find replacement. However, consider a coder who also understands accounting. This coder is not just writing code now, but is also creating software that is financially efficient, compliant with regulations, and optimized to the business needs. So it understands, for example, what the auditors need, right? Their dual experience makes them far more valuable because they bridge two critical domains. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, right? He wasn't just a coder, he understood the psychology of social networks and the mechanics of scaling a business. This combination of skills is what made Facebook a success. Coding alone wouldn't have been enough. Similarly, if a Facebook specialist who only knows how to run campaigns is easily replaceable, but a specialist who understands cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, for example, will be able to bring unique value to companies in the fintech or crypto space. They can create ads that resonate with a specific tech-savvy community and audience, giving them an edge over standard ad specialists. By expanding your skill set beyond a single domain, you will become irreplaceable. You won't just be another coder or another marketeer or another accountant. You will be someone who adds unique value to your projects and teams. This is what makes you 10 times harder to replace and gives you so much more leverage in negotiations, career opportunities, and just overall professional growth, right? Just imagine this, right? A company is looking to streamline its financial software. They can either hire a coder and an accountant separately, or they could hire you, someone who can do both, right? The latter saves the company time and money while ensuring better integration between the software and financial requirements without so much of management. Your dual expertise positions you to become a key asset in the company, not just a replaceable employee. All right, so everything we've discussed is a guide until solidified with direct experience, right? Imagine your journey as a puzzle. At first, all you have are scattered pieces that don't seem to fit. You try to put them together, but nothing really makes sense. I understand that, right? This is the phase where nothing really happens. You're just exploring. But then as you persist, one piece suddenly clicks into place. That single connection starts a chain reaction, and suddenly the bigger picture begins to emerge. This is where everything happens. What once seemed like chaos, right, when you first started, now starts to take shape. I literally can relate to whatever I just said. This is how I felt. Each new skill is like finding another corner piece, helping you see how the rest fit together, right? Over time, the fragments of knowledge and experience begins to connect, forming a clearer path forward. And this clarity is where you can create value, solve problems, and guide others. So stack skills based on interests, stack skills based on strengths, and stack skills based on monetization. Finally, stack skills based on synergy. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Think in terms of decades, not days. You got this. So if you got to this point of the video, firstly, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear in the comments down below, what is one action point you're gonna take as a result of watching this video? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.